Welcome to the Property Investment Podcast. Now, today's episode is slightly different to usual in that we focus on social return on investment. The interview today is with Annabelle Chauncy. Annabelle is the founder and the CEO of School for Life, which she founded when she was 21 years old, which was about 12 years ago. When she was 21, she was a budding young lawyer and she went to Uganda where she saw the poverty and the lack of education. Inspired, she gave up her law degree and she decided to build a school. Fast forward 12 years to today and she schools over 1,000 children with 3 schools and a whole bunch of infrastructure which has been built to support those schools. Today we speak to Annabelle about those schools, about the children, about the teachers she supports and about her journey in her property investment. I hope you enjoy the episode. The Property Investment Podcast is brought to you by Goose Capital. Goose Capital has, in conjunction with MP Funds Management, provided funding for over $1.3 billion of investment-grade real estate transactions and provided an investment return of 22% across the board, with the lowest being 9% and the highest being 42%. For more, go to www.goosecapitl.com. Annabelle, as a young 21-year-old, you went to Africa. You were studying to be a lawyer. You grew up in Bowral, in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales, and you went to Africa and saw what to make you give up your conventional career and forge a path of your own.
I mean, I just was absolutely moved by what I experienced there. I found kids that were learning in environments that were extremely poor, and thousands of them walking to school between 5 and 10 kilometres on an empty stomach to get to these mud huts where they didn't have pens, pencils, desks, school bags, shoes on their feet, books, anything. But they did so with this desire to be educated and these big smiles on their faces and a resilience and determination. So I thought to myself that it's so unbelievable that where you're born in life can dictate your opportunities for the future. And it really doesn't take that much to do something to make a difference. So I decided to do something.
So fast forward 12 years and you now have built 3 schools and a whole bunch of supporting infrastructure. It's basically a town that you've built, as well as accommodation for teachers, food, supply of electricity and power and gas, and everything's sustainable. And you you school 1,000 children. Run us through the story from the beginning to where we are now.
Yeah, sure. It's been an interesting ride, full of kind of challenges and obstacles, but a lot of laughs and a great time along the way as well, and certainly full of a lot of learnings. So at the ripe age of 21, I found myself driven by naivety and passion to do something to make a difference in the lives of some children who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to go to school. So I came home after my first trip to Uganda and I started scratching out a business plan and did the smartest thing that I knew what to do at the time, which was surround myself with people who are a hell of a lot smarter than I am as advisors and mentors to help me to develop a plan. At the time, I worked together with a co-founder. His name's Dave Everett. And so we combined forces and we started to put together the model for School for Life. So obviously there's a lot of complexity when it comes to running an organisation that's a not-for-profit, because you've obviously got to get the buy-in of people to support the capital and the fundraising for the organisation, but also be able to convince people with a very powerful story that the cause is important. So really, to begin with, what we started with was a story, and I used to tell that story to anybody who would listen. I'd literally be pulling the P plates off my car, wearing a suit I borrowed from my mum, and rolling into the office of people like Gail Kelly when she was the CEO of Westpac, asking for support. And so, you know, it started there. It started with passion. You know, it started with a huge desire to just make a small change in the world. Raising capital was tough. because we were 21, so many people said to us, come back to us when you're older, come back to us when you finish your law degree, don't come back to us at all, we think you're absolutely mad, which was probably true. And but that didn't stop us. We just decided that, we're going to keep on going, keep on asking, and we would find and build a tribe of people around us who were willing to support what we were doing. So the first steps for us were to raise that initial seed capital to get over to Uganda to be able to buy land and build the schools. So we actually ended up putting on a black tie ball. We booked out the Hilton Hotel. I thought, I've got heaps of mates, I'll all come to this ball. I think 2 weeks out, I'd promised them 500 guests. We'd sold about 43 tickets. I'm having a heart attack, calling everybody I'd ever met in my life to get them to come along to this event. But on the night, Dave and I pitched the school and, the render that an architect had very kindly pro bono put together for us, and people bought into the vision. And we raised $100,000 that night, and I'm pretty sure the very next day we jumped back on a plane to go over to Uganda to find the land and to work together with the Ministry of Education to build these schools.
Thanks for tuning in to the first 5 minutes of the Property Investment Podcast. The Property Investment Podcast aims to bring together the best minds in the investment-grade real estate sector. For the full episode and access to the live follow-up webinar, go to the MP Report Premium subscription at www.my-property-report.com.